Can you see me?
My name is Abina Johnson, and this is Focus on Liberia. Hit it! From Cape Mount to Cape Palmer, Mount Nimba to Atlantic Ocean, Obomi Hills to Pokonjre, to educate, elevate, and promote. Talk about home affairs, hey, in diaspora, current affairs, reliable information, history, talking about culture, politics, education, entertainment, business, sports, advertisement, articulation. Focus on Liberia. Focus on Liberia. Focus on Liberia. From Monday to Sunday.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to Focus on Liberia. My name is Dennis Jar, and we're broadcasting from Atlanta, Georgia. Tonight, we confront a question that strikes at the heart of Liberia's future. Is Liberia simply a fragile state or at a tipping point of being a narco state? Is Liberia simply fragile in its first fight against drugs, or are we tipping toward becoming a narco state? A narco state isn't just a country with drug problems. It is a nation where drug trafficking infiltrates institutions, corrupts leadership, and erodes the rule of law. We've seen this happen in Colombia, where cartels once controlled entire regions, built their own prisons, and even negotiated with the government. Could Liberia be heading down that path? That's the question we'll be grappling with today. To explore this, I have with me Dr. Mohammed Sharif, a public policy and legal analyst, and he's a member of the Alternative National Congress. Welcome, Dr. Sharif.
Thank you, Dennis.
Also, I have with me Hassan Fadiga, and he's going to be joining us in a moment. He is the former director of Liberia's LDEA, as the former deputy director for operations at the LDEA, who knows the system from the inside. Mr. Hassan Fadiga will be joining us shortly. He's having some connection issue here. Also with me is our producer at the Kear Radio. He's a journalist and a student of mass communication at the state-run University of Liberia, Mr. James T. Wakwe. Welcome, Jimmy.
Thank you so kindly, Dennis, and thanks to your panelists today for being.
We having a problem with James. Mohammed, are you there?
Yes, I'm fine.
Oh, okay, great. Hassan is still having problem here, but we want to welcome all our viewers from across the globe. This is Focus on Liberia, and we are broadcasting from Atlanta, Georgia. Hassan, can you hear us?
I can hear you guys. I'm still trying to connect my video.
Oh, okay. That's Hassan Fadiga, and Hassan knows a thing or two because he lived this thing. All right. So our topic tonight, as I said, Drugs and Liberia, a fragile state or a tipping narco state. Let's begin with a broad view. How will you, each of you, characterize Liberia's current drug landscape? Is it fragile? Is it resilient? Is it tipping towards a narco state? Mr. Sharif, Dr. Sharif, let's start with the topic: fragile state, narco state. Just break these two things down for us, and what it has to do with drugs.
Okay, thank you so much, Dennis. Can you all hear me?
Yes, sir.
Am I audible?
Yes, sir.
Okay, all right. When we talk about a fragile state, I just want to take it from the angle that um, the central authority of a country is weakened by so many factors. Like in the case of Liberia, it has been war and corruption, and like I said, the weak uh, ability of the state to penetrate its authority in every region of the country. So in that space where there is gap, we see that non-state actors, it could be gangs, it could be rebel groups, it could be organized crimes groups, syndicates, they fill in that gap and control that aspect of the country or that aspect of society and exert authority. And that is where you see a fragile state is. And then when you talk about a narco state has to do with a situation wherein drug cartels have uh, infiltrated, able to manage to control or influence the system, like the security sector. I mean, you have the intelligence service, the drug enforcement, the police, the army. They are able to influence, including law enforcement, to an extent, the government as a whole, where you have the legislature and mostly some other executive members uh, are also vulnerable to the influence of the drug bosses. So I'll stop there for now, and then someone else can pick from there. And if you need me to give more clarity on a narco state and a fragile state, I'll go ahead.
Thank you. Let me welcome the former deputy DG, and Hassan. Fadiga Hassan, if you can turn your phone sideways to the landscape view and turn it, like this. Right. First, you have to, right, perfect.
Hassan, how you doing?
I'm doing great, brother. How are you? Is it better?
Thank God, man.
Yeah, that's better. Again, Hassan, welcome to the show, and we are glad that you've come back so that we can discuss this drug problem.
It's always a pleasure having me on your show, Dennis. Liberia is all we have, and for us in our middle age, we anticipate on relocating to Liberia. Most of us, for the matter of fact, that have lived in the U.S., I don't see us wanting to spend the remainder of our life in the U.S. So we want to relocate to Liberia, and we want to relocate to a country that we feel safe, a country that we can have the opportunity to showcase what we have acquired from the U.S. or from other part of the world. And we want an environment that is free of drugs. So with respect to your question of Liberia becoming a narco state, having served as Deputy Director General for Operation, I have firsthand knowledge on the growing drug crisis in Liberia. I think I can lend my voice to that concern. The good news is we haven't reached there yet. We haven't reached that point where we consider Liberia a narco state. The bad news is We are gradually heading towards that end. And if nothing, well, I mean nothing, we are not intentional about fighting drug crime. We are not serious. We're not putting our resources. We are not restructuring, revamping the security system. We are not putting in logistic, human resources to combat this drug crisis. I can assure you, in the next 5 to 10 years, we will be in trouble, and the danger will be practically irreversible.
So let me phrase my question this way. How will you characterize Liberia's current drug landscape? Is it fragile, resilient, or tipping towards a narco state?
It's fragile and tipping towards a narco state.
Let me hear from, thank you. That's scary. Let me hear from James, who have been covering these things on the ground. James, how do you characterize the current drug landscape in Liberia?
I think it's fragile, based on the fact that there are efforts being carried out, and we have now reached to a stage where we declare, like the former deputy director said, a narco state. I think it's fragile, and the efforts being made to have, drug trafficking and abuse being reduced in our country. So I think it's fragile.
Dr. Sherry, we'll come to more specifics on what is happening, but I want, how does a narco state look like? And what are some of the indicators? What are some of the signs that when we see, we
Okay.
say we are there?
Okay. Thank you so much. I want to say hello to all the audience. I'm wearing black because I'm crying for the mothers, along with the mothers, the fathers, the parents that have lost their children to drugs. That's why I'm wearing black tonight. Um, like Hassan just said, I'm not talking from my head. I'm talking from a policy and legal research background. Rightfully, Liberia is at a tipping point to becoming a narco state. The evidence is all too clear. You see that the Drug Enforcement Agency had been under-resourced, underfunded, limited manpower. Um, the Deputy Director for Operations, former Deputy Director of Operations, know what I'm talking about. It was just quite recently we saw that I think they were giving 15 vehicles to make them mobile, and there is need for more advanced training. And so we see that also the level at which drugs had infiltrated in Liberia, in every community, I can say they had almost, I'll give you an example. If you take
Every community.
old Matadi, new Matadi, you take Banjo, where Banjo to Brovi, and you take, sorry enough, Dupont Road, you take even the police academy, you take red light, almost everywhere in Liberia, you find ghettos. And ghettos have number of classifications. And as we progress, we will try to explain how the different ghettos work. So yes, Liberia is not a narco state at the moment, but if we are not working hard, I'm sorry, by 2030, 31, we will be there based on
Hassan,
the evidence available.
Hassan, what are specific, what are some of the signs and indicators we should be watching for? And in your experience, what are some of the regions or communities where this problem feel more? Dr. Sherry named some areas in Monrovia.
So, Mr. Jai, here's my concern. A narco state, in the simplest term, is a state that drug trafficking is influenced, or drug cartel has influenced every political institution in that country, from the judiciary, the law enforcement, the executive, everywhere. The troubling thing about Liberia is drug has become a source of economic sustenance for a lot of people in Liberia. We have a population with 60% of its youth or population is below the age of 25. Drug is a source of livelihood for people in Liberia. If you notice, recently there have been a lot of drugs that have been seized by the LDEA and from women. There's one you will see with the eggnog, there's another one with Kenya, then with the marijuana and all of these things. They are being sold all over. It is a means. That's why people depending on. That's how people are living. We have the unemployment is high. These are source for people to live. Then we have the growing scale. You see, the West African basin is a hub. It's a hub for transatlantic drug trafficking. Because the coastline, most drug cartel, they are bringing the drugs from Latin America. They are bringing the drugs from South America. They are bringing some from Afghanistan through Lebanon, and they are bringing it to Liberia as a transit point to ship. It's not only Liberia, Senegal, Ghana, and that belt, the West African belt, is heavily infested with the cocaine trade. Last month, the French government seized $518 million worth of cocaine from that coast. The French government has been troubled by this so much that they established a think tank called Operation Shack. You recall when I visited during my tenure as a director for operation, were invited to Senegal for training. It was basically to show us some of the rules, some of the method the trafficker used to import drugs to West Africa for transshipment to Europe and America. We have to learn the container, the different compartment in the container where they can put the drugs. So not to deviate too much, to come back to your point, we are dealing with two kinds of trade. At the higher scale, Liberia and a lot of countries with the Atlantic or ocean, it has been used as a transit hub for drugs to be shipped to Europe and America. So these people, in order for them to further the trafficking, they have to have people of influence in government. So sooner or later, we're going to start seeing them. It has been alleged that some of them are in the House of Representatives or House of Senate now. But it's all speculation that there's no verified evidence to that. But you find them going into the House. That means they become policy maker. We found a lot of them in our law enforcement from the DEA. There are a lot of people in the DEA with close ties to drug dealers. The police, there are other people there. You find them in the NSA. You find them in this area. And when they become entrenched, when they become so powerful, especially with people, they start coming around the presidency, it becomes difficult because we saw here, there was a case with $100 million worth of drugs. With all of the bonding of evidence, they went to court, they were exonerated, those guys packed their team and they went and nothing happened. If you start seeing those signs, you should be worried. If you start seeing signs that drug has become the livelihood of a lot of people in your country, The government should start planning right now to dissuade people from trafficking and creating different method of economic sustenance, or else we're gonna have a problem, serious
Thank
problem
you.
with a youthful population. We're gonna have a serious problem.
Thank you. Dr. Shelby, what institutional weaknesses make Liberia vulnerable to this kind of thing we're talking about, to drug infiltration?
Okay, so I will take it back to the root of from research. Um, with various, I've interacted with number of documents from other criminologists around the world in part of my studies. Um, drugs, uh, the increase of drugs started in Liberia when there was war, when ECOMOG or ECOWAS started to send in troops. That was the basic foundation of the increase of drugs in Liberia. Normally, Liberia had the issue of marijuana uh, being the drugs that was known to the Liberians all over. Even as we were coming up, if you hear someone smoking marijuana, you get scared of him badly.
Mhm.
You won't go around
Mhm.
him. But that trend changed when there was war and different nationalities. And war actually is a method of business. War is business, practically, whether from leaders around the world to arms factory. So there's what they call military industrial complex. I'm not going to go into that, but we see that that was the beginning. And so because there was war, the institutions broke down. There was no law and order. And so by the time people, Liberia, move away from war to peace, Madam Ellen Johnson Sirleaf focus was not more on drugs, but on rebuilding state institutions from scratch. And so that's a difficult task, especially in a country where literacy was very low and there was brain drain. A lot of people left and they remained there, either they died or got older. So um, that was where, they had to rebuild the police almost from scratch, the military, all institutions almost from scratch. And then you see that by the time the war ended, there's what we call PTSD, post traumatic stress disorder. It was not addressed in Liberia. A lot of people right now, you talk to them, say, John, say, why your name? Say, my name, John. John, what you say, why you want to do with my last name? That's a symbol of that. Or you see, you talking to somebody in a low tone and the person just get uh, instantly aggressive, start to shout. These are signs of PTSD, and some have gone to a higher mental health crisis. And so, people, the use of drugs in Liberia is a means of escapism to forget about their problem because economic situation, like Fadiga said, is very hard. So, economically, people don't have jobs, and so they turn to drugs. And drug trade is one of the most easiest way people make money. And even those that are in the different sectors, whether security sector, the political, or the judiciary, um, if a drug lord or a drug person come and give, let's say, a law enforcement person or a lawyer or officer of the court money and say, I want you to be my lawyer, represent me, and pay a healthy sum, that lawyer is going to fight that case. That man will fight that case. So because there's not much companies in the country, and these are all based on what we call policy planning. And so there's not much. You see, like the issue of the narco state you are talking about. I mentioned Pablo Escobar of Colombia for the issue of the narco state. You see that Pablo started as a petty thief, selling, stealing people cars, selling it, doing all of these things. I read about him a lot, and the Gambino family in the U.S. Um, uh, uh, Luciano and all most of the top criminals in the world. I've read about them in my criminology studies. So we understand that when institutions in a country are weak, not because maybe they are intentionally weak, but because there's lack of proper planning and resource allocation to be able to address those issues, it become a problem. And for Liberia, there are a number of ways that Liberia can address that, but we'll discuss that towards the end. But yes, that what happened in Colombia, you see Pablo Escobar moved from only
Yeah.
from selling drugs to becoming a member of the House of Deputies, representative equivalent in Liberia. So Pablo Escobar was able to establish control in Medellin.
Right. So in Liberia, what are some of those institutional weaknesses that will make these cartels or these drug laws to infiltrate the system? Because people not voting right or people getting what would be those kind of weaknesses?
Okay, so here's the thing. For example, Liberia has problem like in June, July. I talk about the exchange rate. I discuss the financial policy, fiscal policy, and we get issues of trade deficit, and we see also lack of employment. Because if the parents are not gainfully employed, or if they are employed because the government is the highest employer, but then there's what we call COLA, cost of living adjustment, the money that they paying your parent, they're not able to send number of children to school. And so things become very hard. Only selected few are able to go to school. So the remaining children, what do you think will happen? They try to find a living because sometimes the money the government will pay, the prices have changed
Mhm.
and the
Thank you.
money becomes smaller. You're not able to address the family needs, so children jump in the streets. And this is all. And wherever there's increase increase in drugs, it goes along with number of crimes, armed robbery. It go along with smuggling, and they smuggle arms, and also prostitution and gambling. Any country you see gambling increasing, bet gambling increasing, know that there is an increase in drug. And because if you study criminology, you see that drugs, casino kind of thing, drugs, bet games, they go. These are normally the ways where drug laws launder their money, use their money trail to play around that it's a legitimate business, and they also have prostitution ring. They control, like you saw that some Liberian children were sent to the Arab country in Oman, in other
Mm.
countries. Anywhere you see prostitution is on the increase, you see gambling is on the increase. That's a sign to tell you that from the criminal world that there is now an established foothold of the criminal world in our country.
Thank you. Mr. Fadiga, during your
Yes.
ten- during your tenure at the LDEA, did you observe any patterns of cartel-like behavior or institutional capture?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. And in fact, it's getting worse. And just to buttress what the brother said, if you pay keen attention in Monrovia area lately, you will notice that there's an increase in casinos. There's an increase in gambling as a whole, with the sports betting and other things. There's an increase in prostitution. There's an increase in violent crimes. There's low unemployment. There are people that are selling, and the way they lived, and compared to what they are selling, it just don't make sense. The asset that they have to sell, it worth 100,000, but the lifestyle, it worth million. When you start to see all of these signs, you know that we are heading for trouble. I'm very nervous, and I hate to be an alarmist, the Chinese people. A lot of drugs too is coming through Malaysia and how you call it? Malaysia, yeah. And what the country name? Thailand. They come to Liberia for transshipment to Europe. We are receiving a lot of drugs from that side. And what these drugs cartel, they are very cunning. So they look for a system where the government and the law enforcement is weak. They infiltrate the system. They infiltrate the law enforcement. They infiltrate the legislature. They infiltrate our entire government system. The power, where the power structure is. They will come as a friend and they will give, but in the future they want something in return. And that's the protection that steered a country towards a narco state. With respect to Liberia, we see that pattern growing, and it is growing at a rapid pace. And that's my major concern. If nothing is done, we are in trouble. Like I've forgotten what's your last name, Dr. Sheriff?
Yeah.
Yes.
Like Dr. Sheriff said, every time you start to see those patterns, the next thing you're going to see the proliferation of guns. Mind you, the president signed an executive order. So possession of firearm is less restrictive as compared to previous years. It's a good thing, and it's also a bad thing. But a good thing we can find solace in is that the guys in charge of that, they are very thorough. They are professional. I've worked with them, especially with the AMP, the guys in charge of firearms. They take their job seriously. They dot their I's and cross their T. But again, we have a system that is corrupt. Anybody can manipulate it with cash. Law enforcement is where we have the most challenge. I tell people, and I repeat it, not because I want to denigrate the agency that I work in passionately, but I also want change. So I say, I tell people the agency in charge of fighting drug crime is corrupt to its core. 95%, and I stress on 95%, I will continue to say, I challenge anybody to stand for me and tell me otherwise. 95% of its agents have close ties to drug dealer. 95%. When you are in the US, when you hear about law enforcement, the first thing that comes to your mind is accountability, integrity. If we are to fight drug crime, we need to start to clean the institution from its root before we can make any significant gains, or else it's a joke and we'll just be putting Band-Aid on the soul. And in the future, it's going to be too late because these guys are very crafty. They're going to enter the house. They're going to even pay for vote, influence people to go into the legislature to protect their interests. They're going to pay people to stay close by the presidency to protect their interests. Law enforcement, forget it. That's the diagram. People on payroll. Every Saturday you go and get your money. But then that is the local level. We are talking about at the international level. Liberia risks tension. Liberia risks other embarrassment if we don't do anything to curb or drastically reduce the drug situation. And if we want to reduce it, I can tell you there's a way.
All right, and we'll come to that way. Let me bring in Mohammed to talk about, because you said we're talking about institutional weaknesses, and the former deputy director is telling us that 95% of people in the LDEA, they are close to those drug trafficking, right? If they say if the alligator comes from under the water to talk about crocodile, you won't believe it. So talk to me about the institutional weaknesses we're talking about, and if 95% of LDEA, the officers are either doing drugs or close to drug cartels, or they are kind of acquiescing when it comes to trafficking drug. How, you know, how do you this first? How do you look at that in terms of the institutional weaknesses?
Okay. Thank you so much. Fadiga been there, and he knows most of the officers. But when there is this inherent institutional weakness, is the very first step that we need to address. And that's why you heard me talking about manpower at the opening stages for the LDEA. There are two-pronged approaches here. Um, there needs to be a way to vet them, retraining, vetting them, recruiting new people, and holding them to a higher standard. Also, I have seen that from my observation or research partly, the LDEA mostly is hiring only those who did criminal justice. And that is not the way out. You also need people who did social work. And the social work people can play a dual role. You can use them as support services to families that children are not already in the street. That has to do with the LDEA recruiting sociologists, social workers into their ranks. At the same time, work with Ministry of Gender to start uh, working with families, single family parents, especially single mothers in communities where because you need to understand street children are in two categories. There are ones that are permanently in the street, and then there are other ones that spend the whole day in the street and come back home. They are all classified as street children. Some will go whole day, they come back home. Some will go, they can come back home, they sleep on table, they sleep on this. These are the ones that are highly recruited as drug agents, distributors by the 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 drug barons in Liberia. And to handle that, we need to start thinking about recruiting high quality people, people who we have to do mental fitness, and we have to think about, like one of my interviews I said, if the president can decide to pay the heads of LDEA 5,000, 4,000, 3,000, and the least person 300, give them good incentive, pay them well, at least for Liberia level 300 for a start. And then you give them proper training, and they should be assured of insurance in case they get injured. And if I was to advise at this beginning, I'm available to provide training for them in various areas of crime, dealing with different crime. Um, I think we can be able to make that difference. Recruit new people, vet new people, train them. While you training them, you vetting the old ones, and also there should be uh, in the future. I'll be doing a lot of recommendations on that. We need to have a fast track court only allocated to address the issue of drugs.
Hmm.
If and these are, unfortunately, we need to send some of them to Philippines, some of the judges, so they come back with strong heart. They go to Colombia for training. Let them come back with strong heart. close your eyes. You have to be firm on drugs. If you want to root it out, there are two-pronged approaches. You have the medical and the side to deal with, but the enforcement side will be 50%. There are other areas we can break down to 10, 15, this, that, but the enforcement has to be 50% and it has to be an aggressive one. If you should ask me today, Sheriff, do you want the drug enforcement to have firearms? I will tell you yes, they should have firearms just like ERU. I will tell you yes. But
Well,
they can have firearms, but it has to be a new set that are trained and not in Liberia. They should be trained outside of Liberia and they are only reserved as a backup force in case there's a raid going on and then there's anything that resembles resistance.
So currently the LDA don't have firearm because the story I heard that was reported when they arrested their boss daughter, right? They say when they went there, they were firearm and they called an AFL person was passing who came to help them. So currently LDA don't carry firearms. Hassan?
Okay, so Dr. Sherry, she made some valid points, and I'll just add up to that. So, with respect to the LDEA, like any law enforcement institution, they are allowed to carry firearm, but LDEA is not fully structured. I don't know whether it's intentional, deliberate, but it's not fully structured. So right now, on paper, the three directors carry firearms. So we
Yeah,
get our
I
firearms
saw yours.
from the Liberian National Police on they lend out their firearm. Because we have had LDA had other director, I would say they did not have fresh ideas on how to move the agency in the right direction. And so they didn't fight to gain a lot of things that would make a lot of tools that would make the LDA more effective. And that has been the problem. Leadership has been LDA's biggest problem. And it's a problem in a lot of area in like sector in Liberia. So people don't take people or put people in position based on merit. People put people in position based on political association and connection. And it's unfortunate, but with LDA, a serious matter entity like LDA, they are allowed to carry firearms. Some of the officers, they got their own firearm, they go through the training with the Liberian National Police. But I personally, as is thing with the group that are at LDEA right now, I would strongly advise against giving any of them firearm. Not because it is not important, but because it will cause more problem than solve the problem.
So Hassan, while you are there,
Let me explain on why I said it. Now, this is why. Right now, the total strength on paper, employees at LDA, they close to around 500, 550 employees with CSE that are on paper. Of that employee, that 550, only 144 to 200 had gone through basic law enforcement training, and that was about 15 years ago.
what?
They went through basic law enforcement training about that. The rest of the people, they probably watched too much TV, and that's where they got their experience from. So they do not fully understand the rules of engagement for law enforcement. And I will give you an example. Sometimes I will go and get a raid when we get down to the scene and we start to move into the ghettos to be able to take siege or those areas. those boys will start beating the crap out of other civilians. People will be in handcuffs, they will start beating them. I had to change that culture of assaulting civilians by severely punishing agents to reduce that. So before I leave to go on a drug raid, I will put them in muster, tell them my expectation that when they are going out, they should be aware that people will be recording it. They should behave professional at all times. And you cannot hit a subject. You cannot take a subject phone. You cannot steal from a subject. You have to reiterate that every day. So with the level of unprofessional conduct, and most of these guys, to be quite honest with you, they do not meet the minimum standard of a law enforcement officer. They shouldn't even be there in the first place. But again, we are speaking about Liberia, where the scarcity in job and where people value protecting one's job than doing the right thing. So we have a challenge. But to be able to solve those things, there's a way. And we have to face it heads on by identifying the challenge and working towards changing that culture. It's the culture that the people don't want to change. First of all, before I give a DA agent firearm, and that's what we're doing during our tenure, we have to do something called the MMPI exam. It's Minnesota Multi-Source and something exam. It's basically a SAC evaluation that we in America go through. It's about 556 questions. They ask repeated questions. It's just to know your mental state, to know whether you are capable of withstanding pressure under stress, whether you're not crazy, whether you can make split-second decision in a stressful situation. The result for that will determine whether you will become a police officer or not, or a DA agent or not. Having gone through those process and letting psychiatrists evaluate at the result, we can be able to make determination on whether this person is best fit for the force. Besides that, you should go through an extensive background. In the US, when you tell someone that you are a law enforcement professional, people don't question your integrity. Don't get me wrong, there are bad cops in the US system, but they are fewer. Because if you are caught, you are gone and you are held accountable. You can never work in this setting again in your life. And you're going to be prosecuted. So most people do not dare venture in becoming a bad cop. Some, yeah, we do that. So we need to be able to change our culture, extensive background check, and SAC evaluation. And then we choose the best people for the job. Even the recruitment now, unfortunately, people sometimes when you see people get a perception to silence you, they say, oh, you act like you are the only person with the character to do the job, or you act like you know plenty. It's not about knowing plenty. It's about having the experience, knowing the problem, and genuinely want a solution to that problem. And if we want to fight drugs, we need to go to the root. We need to challenge it from all sectors, from all aspects to be able to yield results. Or else, everything we're doing, we just putting Band-Aid on the soul, and the soul is still there and nothing. We need to recruit more people. If I'm recruiting right now, I recruit college graduate. I recruit most of the guys down there. You'll be surprised, Mr. Ja. They cannot report. Most of the agents cannot write. It's sad to say this. They cannot write. You give them a report or police report to write. They will be on it from today to the next day, and they will not write probably 2 or 3 sentences. And when you read it, you'll be like, did that guy go to school? That's the problem. If you cannot write report, how can we convict? Because the prosecutor rely on your report to charge and convict with the evidence. So we have so many challenges that we need to deal with. We even start yet. And everybody playing lip service. Some people will come. You will come on the media, and unfortunately, showmanship works in Liberia. All you need to do, pay the media, pretend that you're working,
And they
say
will do
things like you're doing something, but it
it.
doesn't solve it.
Thank you.
The drug situation is no joke.
I can see that. Dr. Sharif, let's talk
Yeah.
about Liberia's legal framework. How does the legal framework address institutional corruption or the institutional weaknesses that are linked to drug trafficking?
Um, Unfortunately, there are laws for drugs, and the law lay out what should be done when someone is a suspect, because by Liberia jurisprudence, or mostly around the world, um, someone is presumed innocent until found guilty. But here is the interesting part of it. Um, During the time of gathering evidence, that's when states lose cases, because the integrity of the evidence makes it easy for the prosecutor. All what you have to do as a defense, look for loophole, like small area, you put your needle. The big balloon, it not need big enough. Just look for small needle and bust it. As the air keep coming out, you will see the big balloon, it will go down. So here's the thing, like I was saying, that the DEA, as it stands, when I talk about firearm, I said a new crop of officers need to be trained who have not been there before, and they should not be trained in Liberia. That's why I said they need to be trained outside of Liberia, and they only need to be like a standby force to protect those who are going on raid. So they can be like the umbrella, the third circle. Fadiga know what I'm talking about. The third circle to protect the perimeter while the other people are raiding, so that uh, the drug people, if they are that organized to the level now that they get firearm, they will they will not get a backup to come and take on the guys that are doing the raid. So as we gradually move on, crime develops, and in this Gulf of Guinea, which is open to uh, trans transactional things going on within this Gulf of Guinea, we have to be careful because there's increase in drugs, and that goes along with arms. So, like I was saying, the LDEA need training, and if the government can make a hard promise that they can provide proof to me with agreement that they will pay the people in the service, well, there are a number of trainings I can give them, even their teams, how to do basic writing of statement or other uh, criminology related trainings, uh, so that they can be able to do it, and I can do it free of charge. If the government is ready to do certain things, I can do it. I said it before, and I'm prepared to do it to help them. Preliminary trainings, I can do that. Not the firearm, uh, the other areas I can give them, including administrative training, because of my background in policy and criminology from the UK. I'm still doing that one. So
Maybe
so seriously, for anything to happen, um, the legislature need to take this issue very seriously. If we should have a nation state, if we should have what we call a Liberia in the 2030s, we need to allocate money and pay these guys well, train new people, make the force a professional force, able to give them uh, backup training. I mean, the police academy is available to train them, and we need to do mental health test, mental capacity to not only to carry firearms, but to prove whether this person is mentally fit to be in the force. That's why you saw me discussing about PTSD, post-traumatic stress disorder, and some of them have other mental health problems, dementia. Some of them, that due to their interaction with drugs over time, they hallucinate, and so we we believe that Liberia has multiple layers of problem, but we can solve it bit by bit if we think we want to solve them. To have a place called home and a home called Liberia.
As I want to jump in quickly, but before Hassan comes in, anytime we talk about drugs in Liberia or the use of drug, the most of the time we talk about LDEA, right? To me, it appears that we most often approach this drug thing from a criminal perspective, right? What other areas we should be looking, like you stress mental health? So who all should really be involved in this fight? Because it's like the emphasis is a lot on the LDEA.
Yeah, you remember
Yeah,
I did not only mention LDEA, I talk about the Ministry of Gender. I mentioned Ministry of Gender, Ministry of Health, Ministry of Youth and Sport also should be involved in it. Because as you transition young people from drugs or you want to sway them away from drugs, you have to involve them into sports. Something has to keep them busy.
Thank
Ministry of
you.
Education has to also be involved. I mean, so
Mm.
there are multi-layer of things that need to be done, and I think if the government doesn't have that policy capacity, we can call on other Liberians to help. This is our country. We can help to build it up, or help them, give them policy guide how to have a comprehensive way to respond to drug problems in Liberia. Because this issue of drugs is not one government. uh, if one government doesn't do it well, any new government come, you inheriting a problem you can't solve. So you will just come and talk your own, because this thing is a generational thing. And unfortunately, during the war, almost all warring factions made drugs food for their fighters, and some of these fighters bore children. They born plenty children. Most of the fighters, generals, colonels under the fighters, they born plenty children. And drugs, unfortunately, I'm not a medical person, but we know that it get a effect on the women who
Mm.
pregnant for their kids. It passes through the placenta, uh, so it will infiltrate into the children. You look at their DNA composition, 23 chromosomes making 46. So you see, you will, and that's why when we're looking at the history of crime and studying crime, you look at where it was rampant, and when you're studying criminology, society, and their relationship with crime, you are able to understand a lot of things, the effect of society
Mm.
on the individual.
Thank you.
And also they have also biological transfer, their genetic makeup. If a troublemaker, there's a likelihood that if I get 4 5 children, some children will be troublemaker.
Mm.
If I get slave mentality is somebody that went through oppression. So when he come up, he feel that the only way he can be happy is to oppress other people. So uh, uh, there will be a transfer of that kind of character traits into their child. So we see that we need to address the drug issue in Liberia right now, using various methods. But like you said, yes, how can we address this? We can address it through uh, uh, a multi-stakeholder approach, where you got gender ministry, because they got the aspect of social protection. We have Ministry of Youth and Sports. We have education. We got uh, even the religious leaders and cultural people need to be involved. So
Thank
it's a
you.
whole approach, big approach.
Thank you. Hassan, you were coming in, and I want to add there that in your experience, who all were you working with, or LDA you just put on your head?
No, and that's a good question. And for me, during my tenure, I was very proactive. I worked with Dr. Poto, the health minister. So she would call me, I would call and harass her because my strategy was simple: go after the drug dealer, fellowship with the end user, the addict, try to build rapport and keep them in a specific location so when the government is ready for rehabilitation, we can document them, codify them, and then send them over for rehab. So that was my approach. So I worked extensively with Dr. Poto. I know the president convened some group and the youth of sport, youth minister of youth and sport, the gender ministry, and the health ministry was in charge for us to work together on this drug thing. But
As I want you to talk more about that, right? Because I'm talking about institutional framework. You know, like you came from outside, so you could see things a little differently. So maybe you personally work with other people, like you said, Dr. Poto. But what is the structure? How
okay,
does it work?
so this is how it works, right? The youth and sport have their own budget to deal with that. For my brother, I'm trying to be politically correct in a sense that the
Because
way
when you
things
talk,
are,
they say, "Oh man, that man, he
yeah,
angry."
they are angry. So Liberia has enough documents on the book, policy on the book to deal with things. We just don't have either the political will or the right people to steer those initiatives. The LDEA, we work with the health ministry. So the Dr. Poto gave me gloves. I wanted medication, and were preparing for her to give me nurses to take with me in the ghetto for me to be able to treat some of those guys because you know the job they have curable soles on the leg. Some of them they amputated the leg because of those soles. And I wanted for her to help me, and she agreed. She was gracious enough, and to help me, and with medication, face masks, because as you are aware, many of these young people in the ghetto they have drug-resistant tuberculosis. A lot of them got HIV, hepatitis B, and it's common among them. So she gave me gloves and she gave me face mask, PPE to use. So we're working to really move things with other agencies, with the gender. When we have young people that cannot be processed through the court system because of age, we send them to gender. So we were working, with those institutions. But you mentioned something about the law. Liberia has a good drug law, and I must commend President Weah because it was passed in 2023. The revised drug law 2023. It's a good law. For example, under the new drug law, I think 14.105, the section, there's a full feature component in that law. And for me, it's good. So the full feature component says that if you are caught with a drug, for example, in your home or your car or anywhere, and you are processed and successfully, prosecuted, the government can criminally forfeit that home. And after selling that assets, 50% of the proceeds of that asset will go to government revenue, 25% will go to the LDEA for its operation, and the other 25% will go to rehabilitation programs. There's also a civil forfeiture aspect too that has to go through the justice ministry. even if you're not fully prosecuted and they can establish that your property or your assets derived from the sale of narcotic, the government can also forfeit your property. So that law is there. But here, where the tricky part comes in. During the investigation process, everything get missing. Sometimes I had to review the investigative report because it was not making sense. For example, somebody read an investigative report. I don't know whether it was done deliberately or they just didn't know. They will omit some of these things. The asset, if you seize drugs from a car, why is it the car not mentioned in the report? Why is it the home that the kids with the Japan kids that were prosecuted? Japan home was never mentioned in any report. And Japan has a property worth probably close to 100,000 United States dollars. He was successfully convicted and sentenced to 20 years in prison. That home should have been seized. By now, it should have been sold, and the proceeds for that home should go to government, the DEA, and rehab program. But because it was not originally inserted into the original charge sheet, there's nothing you can do about it. These are ways that the drug cartel can manipulate the system. Sometimes you have to even look at the report to know whether they're writing the report the right way. That's why it is extremely important that we hire competent people in the DEA. Why is it people keep talking about the DEA? The DEA is the sole institution in Liberia in charge of fighting drug crime. There are other agencies that also help, but the DEA is in charge of fighting drug crime. That is a serious-minded position. The reason the DEA is treated as a second-class citizen is, or they are not respected as a serious-minded law enforcement institution is because of its leadership. Trust me, the DEA is the only institution in concert with the postal service that can open cargo in Liberia. The DEA, they can open cargo shipping in Liberia. Enter plane, grounded. But because we're not using, most of its Director General, I don't know what actually to use. They were not fully taking charge of the mandate that was given to them. Other people took away it. For example, right now, as I speak, the DEA do not have full access to the Freeport of Monrovia. The Freeport of Monrovia is a major transit hub for transatlantic drug trade. We don't have. In fact, the DEA office, the main office, is way outside the port, way in some corner. During our tenure, we're working with the UNODC to bring to build a little office in the port itself, the main port. We identify an area and we're trying to work with it. We don't. And $100 million worth of drug pass through that free port. And DEA do not have full access to that free port. The airport, DEA agent do not have full access to the airport. When I mean full access, some DEA agents do not have the red tag to go to certain area. Some of them, it takes time to go there. And that airport is a serious place. A lot of the major input of narcotic comes through the RRE. Yet and still, we don't have full access to the RRE. The port of Greenville and Alfred, we don't have absolutely no access at all to the port of Greenville and Harper. So how are we fighting drugs?
But why is that? I mean, quickly before.
Why is that? Because the leaders were not interested in my opinion, genuinely fighting drug crime. How did I know all of these? During our tenure, I was able to to discover that I spoke with the senator in charge of that, Senator Sigway. He in charge of maritime, and he told me we should reduce it into writing, we put it on the floor to ensure that we have full access to all of these areas. But again, I was the director for operation. I was not the director general in charge of that, so I couldn't do anything. In fact, I wrote the letter and I submitted it to the director general, and he agreed for us to do something about it. I had to write the letter and send it to him because it is his letterhead that should be used to send it to the Senate. So we were working on that. The next place is Waterside. Waterside is a hot zone for narco trafficking in Liberia. Waterside is our biggest headache. I don't know what the people are doing in our Sierra Leone, but Waterside is one of our biggest headache. How can we solve all the problems? I've listed all of these problems. I've talked about it. How can we solve it? Can we solve it? Yes. Liberia is a little bit different because we are small and with good intelligence, we can be able to solve it. One of the easiest methods, the simple way that we can be able to deter these things is the dog, the K9 unit. The K9, I heard someone talking, I think the current OIC, he spoke on it on the class below about the K, about bringing in K9. He said they can't bring K9 because it would cost 10 million. I mean, either he misspoke or he didn't know what he was talking. It's erroneous. We don't need 10 million to bring K9 to form a K9 unit. We don't even need 200,000 to form a K9 unit. We have Kenya. During our tenure, we're working. I suggested that we're working with somebody in Kenya to train one dog, a dog that coming well-trained dog is around 8,000 United States dollars, 8 to 11,000 United States dollars. There's different equipment. The UNODC wanted to give us an equipment, small handheld equipment is worth about 50,000. We could use that at the border. So there are a lot of mitigation strategies we can put in place if we want to genuinely fight the drug. Why are we not doing it? Is because when we talk about Liberia steering towards narco trafficking, there are certain people that are probably influencing the thing and don't want these things to happen. Look,
stop that small, Hassan, before they catch you.
I know.
But let me
Okay,
let me welcome Lieutenant Alfred Johnson. He is a police officer and criminal justice practitioner. Fadiga, welcome.
Thank you, Dennis. Thank you. Hello to Hassan and I think Dr. Sharif. Hope you gentlemen are doing
Hey,
fine. I've
Alfred,
been
long
following the
time, man.
discussion.
How you doing?
Not bad, my man. I've been following the discussion. Unfortunately, I couldn't get on while I was on the clock. Now I'm off the clock,
Okay.
so I can get on.
Okay.
Yeah.
Welcome.
Thanks for joining.
welcome.
Dr. Sharif,
No problem.
Hassan is revealing some things, right? So my question to you
Yeah,
is:
so
Does our leadership or the policy maker, do they have a complete understanding? Because if you have LDEA,
No.
for instance, and say don't go here, don't go there, but then we are crying that we have the drug issue, is it that they don't understand the danger that we are in? You know, why?
so from experience and research that I've been involved in other countries from my academic work, it's a combination of all of some of the things you have mentioned. But I'll go back to what Hassan was saying. In the first place, where you're talking about um, when it's at, it has to do with policy. If you have a policy drive that is directly extracted from the law, for example, I'll give an example of 3D in the drug law: detect, disrupt, and destroy. If today this is a government that is formed by us, we will have a policy of that nature. Detect. We will know all where it comes from, all the sources that are porous, like the Bowaters are, the Sino port, all the ports of entry. We'll be able to map out who then specifically use certain routes. Interestingly, in criminology or in dealing with criminals, there are criminals that specialize in opening window. They get some that through the roof their stealing can happen. Some that broad daylight. So there are some that are so expert in using bow water, sir, or even using Gantasa, or using Lofasa, or using Haposa, Grangidesa, the different angles to come in. We are able to, we will be able to identify those people and what is the quantity. We run sting operation on some of them and know where they're bringing it, where is it headed for, blah blah blah. And from the Sierra Leone side, it's Liberia and Sierra Leone so easy to interact. Liberia can embed enough intelligence in Sierra Leone, enough that on a daily basis, as they arrive, we just pick the vehicle up. But if that all has to do with what we call uh, political will, is the government ready to fight? Is it a priority to the government? Because something that not priority to a government, certain things can take too long to happen. Like all the areas you mentioned, look, the LDEA in actual fact, once it's a statutory mandate, they don't need to ask anybody to go down the port to go and effect a raid if they get a tip off. And that's the reason why you saw I talk about having a unit that is trained outside of the country, uh, number of people trained, that the LDEA acquire that kind of respect. Because if you don't have the respect when you appear somewhere, they give you resistance. But if they are trained outside, they have the logistics. You can be manning small gate to Freeport. You see 50 LDEA then come with 8 jeeps. They are well armed, they're going for raid. There you say you step in there. You will let them in. Because as soon as they get there, they don't need to tell you which car they're going for, what they're going for. Intelligence will not leak. They will enter and do their raid. They miss, they get, they get. If they have a tip off about the plane, once it's clear that these number of officers are assigned there, they are the ones that are already assigned to the place should have complete access, so that anytime there's a raid on a specific plane, they have the access to lead that team in to raid the plane. The same way with all the ports, the same way with everywhere. Once it's a statutory mandate, LDEA not need to be afraid.
Let me
That's not a
can I can I
private
can I
home.
can I can I step in a little bit to
Yeah, let
clarify
me just
something?
finish.
All right.
It's not a private home where they will need a search warrant. The airport don't need a specific search warrant easily to do hot pursuit. When they shall have done hot pursuit and established that there's a probable cause that there's drugs on this thing, that's why in other countries they have courts that use Pfizer intelligence courts pre-ahead. Once they board the plane, they believe that there's something, the judges should work, issue the search warrant that allows the LDEA now not only to search, but to ground the plane after the hot pursuit. Similarly, they can board a vessel on hot pursuit and ground the thing after. Once they find a probable cause, they can ground it and get the official search warrant. that brings then the vessel completely under their jurisdiction. So
Thank you.
all of these things, looking at the different laws, that's why I said they need training, and some of us are available now, are free small, so are able to help them to do a lot of training free. If they want level 3 training now, that one anybody want it, the government will pay. But
Thank you.
level 1, level 2 training, I can do it free.
Lieutenant Johnson, are you there?
Yes, I'm here.
Yeah, we've covered a lot. So where I want you to start from, I would say, and you can, how do drug cartels operate in the US, and what strategies have proven effective in resisting their influence? I know you have you work here, and also you follow what's going on in Liberia. So just take it from any angle since you are late.
So first of all, let me thank everyone for the wonderful discussion thus far. Are you guys getting me?
Yes.
Yeah, you're clear, Alfred.
Yeah. Let me thank you guys for the wonderful discussion thus far. They one of the main thing. What was the first question?
How do drug cartels operate in the US?
Well, I mean, the operation goes beyond. Let me just put it this way: unlike more often than not, when it comes to one of the crime we have issue with is the stolen vehicles, the theft of high-end vehicles that get shipped to parts of Africa, maybe parts of Asia and things like that, Nigeria, South Africa, Ghana. That operation, from talking to auto theft detectives, that operation is so uh, how you call it, since compartmentalized that it is sometimes difficult to even get the mean person because when somebody goes to steal a car, the youngest will go and steal the car. Maybe somebody in Nigeria asks for a Porsche Cayenne. I need a Porsche Cayenne, or I need a G wagon. All right, one of the youngest go and carjack the G wagon or steal the G wagon. When they take that G wagon, they're taking it somewhere where nobody will meet them. They drop it there. They go somewhere to get their money, so they're not seeing anybody. The next person goes there, gets the G wagon, take it somewhere to the chop shop or something like that for them to strip the vein off it and things like that. Every step in the process is compartmentalized, is segmented, so you're not meeting anybody. If you get a fence, they got different people. In the case of the drug thing, from speaking to people involved in the drug, specific drug detection, specific individuals with DEA, it's similar to that thing, but because of the need for control, the need for being aware of where things are going, there is this streamline of connection and communication. So one of the way to do it is they are very communicative in the process. They are also very creative. There's a reason why the borders is the discussion about the border goes beyond just people entering. The discussion about the border goes beyond just people entering. It goes to the issue of bringing drugs in there. People use all kinds of means to bring drugs in, the food, the fruits, and different things they use to bring drug in. So there are so many ways by which they bring it in. The effectiveness of the American system to fight this drug goes beyond just arresting. I can't talk about forfeiture. It's not just about the laws on the book because Liberia has some of the most stringent drug laws, some
Yeah.
of the finest laws, not just Liberia for that matter, not just drug law for that matter. Every law in Liberia has a lot of good laws on the book. Like just the other day, I was reading the Liberian National Police use of force policy. Compared to other departments here, use of force policy in Liberia is very stringent. It goes by the proportionality standard. Yeah, we talk about reasonability and things like that, but go by the proportionality standard. So the laws on the book are very, very strong in theory, but in practice, they're not there. As I talk about, I remember when I started as a police officer, we were called as patrol cops to go and secure a perimeter for a search warrant for with DEA. When we went there, the guy had cash all on a bed. Everything, I'm talking about like hundreds of thousands of dollars. Everything was seized. The guy's cars were towed. Everything was towed. The houses was gone. Everything was gone. The point here is the reason why the American system, even though they say have problem with drugs, they are very effective in terms of punishment, is because they go all in. They take everything, your cars, your money. Even our year, when you do some, like we're working somebody overtime assignments and we see somebody with CDS and we can establish that it's a P weight for possession we intend to distribute, that means the person has a skill, the person has money, maybe they have some guns and things like that. It doesn't matter the amount. Once that person is, we charging them a P weight, whatever cash on it, we're taking it. Now they have to go and apply for asset forfeiture. They'll have to go to the court to get their asset back. It doesn't matter who you are. If a firearm if we can establish that it's linked to the drug, we can seize it. So the seizure is very critical. And the punishment people get here too is very important. The problem with Liberia is not just, don't get me wrong, America still got drugs problem. It's still here, don't get me wrong. But they are not sitting down, not fighting it. They are fighting it. They are using the court systems. They are using the forfeiture system. They are using the fact that they're stopping it in its tracks. Also, now what Trump is doing now is just pretty much offing all these drug laws.
Bumping
Just
them.
using straight up military engagement on them. So there are so many methods they are using. The problem with Liberia is not even engaging the fight of drugs. The fight against drugs in Liberia is more optical than it is substantive. It's very optical. It's almost like people are interested in optics than substance. So that's why you see when people get drugs in Liberia, they burn it. They burn the drug. So it is more optics than it is substantive. So that's the difficulty we have in Liberia. But yeah, it's a combination of factors that are used to fight drugs in Liberia and it's in America and it's working, even though it is now all there, but it's working. That's why you don't see the street flooded with all these drugs.
Hassan, we continue to see drug people being arrested. They take your picture, you hold a drug. After the arrest, what else is happening? We don't see it. Are there other things happening after we see those pictures and we see the drug being burned? First of all, I don't know where were you when the 100 million drug was. Where did it go? Did it burn it? And after that, especially with now women, including someone in their 70s being arrested, what happened after that?
So the LDA, because drug is so rampant in the country, what we do is, like, at least when I was there, the strategy was, if we conduct a raid and we arrest you probably with about 5 racks in your hand, five stuff. Under our law, possession is a crime. You can be, criminally prosecuted. So what we usually do, we take you, arrest you, profile you, take your picture and profile you and put you in the system. We're not going to prosecute you based on the quantity, because the quantity you have is a small quantity. Most likely not for distribution, for consumer, for consumption. So we will most likely profile you and let you go. Those that are in possession, we intend to distribute with a large quantity. They are prosecuted. They are investigated, interrogated, charged, and forwarded to court. And now the court will usually send them to South Beach, and it will be on pre-trial detention until they go through the court system. But there's a crack in that system. Sometimes they report.
So your work ends when you turn them over to court or to the.
We turn it over. The only thing we would do, some agents, especially the arresting officer, might testify during trial. Might testify. But besides that, the LDEA.
But do you know what is happening to them? Do you have records to say, well, this year we sent 2,000 persons to court?
What's
the number?
The chief of Leut, his duty is to report that monthly to the director of operation. At that time, I was the director of operation, and then another copy will be sent to the UN, ODC, and the INL under the Department of State.
Is it published anywhere for the public to see?
No, it's not enough for public. The public is not for the public.
Yeah.
So we send them there. The INL Department of State also we send a copy to them. So there are statistics for the amount of drugs that were arrested, the amount of people that were arrested, the amount of people that are currently incarcerated, the amount of people that were successfully prosecuted. There are records, with regard to that day right now.
Mohammed?
Yeah, can I comment? Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Also, let me announce, if you are watching, and want to take part, we have 30 minutes to go. 605-313-6004. The code is
But let me,
79140.
Mohammed, before you join me, let me clarify some things. I know you spoke on some things, and I want to give you a clear picture, because one day you might even go back to Liberia, you may be opportune to serve in government, and I just want to give you this opportunity. You see, for
I'm
us
in
that
Liberia
come
right
here,
now. I'm
you
in
currently in
Liberia right
Liberia?
now. Yeah.
Okay, look, let me tell you. On paper, everything that you said, it makes a lot of sense to me. It makes a lot of sense to Alfred, because he understands that he's a professional. He has worked in this field. In Liberia, it's a totally different situation. Normally, DEA should have access to the Freeport, the Freeport, full access. Should have access, full access to the RIA. Should have access to those areas. But the way you explain it, it doesn't usually happen that way, unfortunately. And
Wow.
if all you push it, you're gonna get in more trouble than even for doing the right thing. It has to
Wow.
go through the same legislature. Can you imagine when I told you that? I told Senator Sickwick. Senator Sickwick said I should reduce it into writing, and then you are going to put it on the floor for us to have full access to the Freeport of Monrovia and all those, not Freeport of Monrovia, but Freeport of Monrovia and the Port of Greenfield and Harper. That'll tell you how complicated our system is. Even though,
So,
yeah,
Hassan, is it because they don't trust them that, hey, when we get these people, they will go there and steal? You were talking about when they go to raid, they steal phones.
no. And then let me point, yeah, I will get to that. Let me tell you another interesting thing. You see Bay Mountain? King George, there's a little town up adjacent Bay Mountain where the mineral and company. There's a serious drug problem in King George. So we got a tip off, and I went to do a tour on that facility, because what was happening, it was alleged, unverified evidence, that Bay Mountain vehicle, those guys that were driving the vehicle, because nobody touched them, nobody searched the vehicle, they were bringing in drugs into the facility and moving around. So I went there to speak with the agents there, and I was stopped. At the checkpoint, a LMP officer stopped me, a director for operation. They stopped me from entering the concession facility. I had to raise hell and call the manager, the security manager, for him to come and escort me. Even when he escorted me, he only took me to the base where my men were for me to speak with my men. There was something off about that place. If you have been to any military facility in America where they got top secret clearance, the nuclear facility, the way it is done.
Yeah.
There they got camera. Now this place is just a mining factory. They got camera. They got everything. It's just done like they're secret. They refused me entry down there. I have to call north, and they only carry me to the barrel where they host the DA agent, and from there I came back. That should tell you the kind of country we are dealing with and the challenges we are faced with. With
So
respect to, go ahead, Alfred.
you see, Fadiga, when that happened, did you people as heads write directly or call for a meeting with the president? Because this is something that the commander in chief need to know. There are things that definitely I can be part of an institution. I'm telling you factually, in a government that I'm going to play a very crucial role, drugs will be my number one thing I pay attention to, because drugs can destroy the next generation of a nation. And I want Liberia to be among one of the best countries in Africa. So drugs is
So
going to
Dr.
be one of
Sherry,
the areas. I I I can't understand why just a company, a concessionaire, refusing you with authority in that place. Why you now call the police director so you can arrest that man can be arrested? The police
If
officer
I
that was saying no.
if I
Why
may,
why why
yeah,
why
Alfred,
you
go
not call
ahead
the
before I say.
IG, the 102?
so I I understand the sentiment being expressed by Dr. Sharif and Hassan, but I want to throw caution to the wind here because yeah, B Martin. I mean, Hassan was on the ground. He saw what he saw. I'm not trying to dismiss what he saw, but we also have to understand that this is a private company that has some sort of protection and in terms of privacy and other rights. They operate there based on under the law. And one of the things I've seen in Liberia is the semi disregard for the law from every end. So in that case, if I were Hassan, first of all, I don't think this is something that should be elevated to the level of the presidency because there are so many other people with much more leverage and power that can be able to nip this thing in the behind as opposed to it being the president.
Exactly.
Yeah. So, but if I were Hassan, if I observe that kind of situation, I have a spotty sense. I don't have enough yet to execute a search or do search or things like that. Again, maybe they may have been there to protect their intellectual property or other places. I mean, other information they have, they don't want people to see. Maybe it may not be drug related. But if he has intelligence that being mounted trucks are moving drugs because of the assets they have, nobody's searching them, and they when you get there, you have some sort of sense of funny feeling. That's when you start the investigation. You start investigating, maybe covert investigation to see how best you can develop probable cause, undercover agents and things like that. You expect do them to be able to do a very big That's why you launch a whole operation. That's how the people do here. They launch an entire operation when they suspect something. They fund the operation. Say, hey, we suspect that these people are bringing in drugs. All right, cool. Let's launch a whole operation, do surveillance and stake out and all the different things to be able to link the drugs to these people. First of all, establish that drugs are on this thing, link the drugs to B Mountain, and then execute a search warrant because you have to understand B Mountain is a very big company. If you go there and act outside of the law, when B Mountain goes to court, they have lawyers who can use the law against you. So the observation is good, but we have to be very careful how we execute the observation to be able to result in criminal charges because at the end of the day, these criminal charges will be challenged in court and if they will not obtain our actions when against the law, it becomes a problem. And we've seen it on so many occasions. So this is why, in as much as I understand the sentiment, we have to exercise caution in dealing with this thing. And we have to exercise logic as opposed to emotions in dealing with this kind of
Exactly.
situation.
Yeah. So what I was trying to say, Alfred, is this: when he arrived and he went on the basis of intelligence tip-off, right?
No,
So
let me clarify. Let me clarify that. So we were
okay,
not going to carry on an investigation. The idea I was trying to put forth here is we were
okay,
stopped from entering a concession ever. What
okay,
happened was when you remember that there was a
Yeah.
conflict, a riot at King George, and they bring the police department, they bring the DEA headquarters. So Bay Mountain took the DEA and the police into the concession area on a little
okay.
base
Now I
and provide a
understand.
place for them.
What?
So I
So
was
what?
going there to meet with my men to discuss some of the concerns, not ready to effect an arrest or launch
Okay. So
an
so
investigation.
what I was thinking from what the way I understood it was like you had a tip off, and you went there because they are trying to hide something,
Right.
so they don't want to give you an
No, this
access.
is
That's
I
that.
went
That's how
there.
I understood it
No,
initially, and
that's
that's
what he
the
said.
yeah. That
So
and
I mean,
that
I
that
went
that
to
that's
speak.
that that's why I understood it's on that basis of law that I was saying to you that if you had that probable cause and they are stopping you, you should have called the 102. And I said when you come back, you people need like the restrictions that you're talking about. You need clearance from the Senate again when there is already a law.
No,
Then you need to go for to the Senate
deputy
Dennis,
or
manager.
to have access to the airport to get access to other places. It does not need any more
Oh yeah,
approval from the
For
Senate.
Liberia,
That has that I think that
it's a
could just
different
be an
story.
executive order
so,
for
so
that.
so let me just say this, right? Let me just say this. I'm trying for us to be very careful because for me, one of the problems I have Liberia, the manner in which we carry out investigation, we process scenes, we process evidence and things like that. The government has lost so many cases that it could have won. The most notably, the most notorious one is the Global Scott case. The most notable one, the Gloria case, we saw how the government discarded what is in the county pathology, wherever they discarded DNA evidence when the primary defense was that there was a male intruder, and then you just discarded DNA that could have possibly exculpatory evidence, or that would mean nothing. That could be a DNA evidence that could possibly be explained because of the amount of people that are in the body. I'm saying this to say, I don't think even with intelligence outside of, if Hassan has intelligence or tip off, that tip off then should be used as a means to launch an investigation. If Hassan is going there to do any work in terms of enforcement action, it should be gathered by probable cause with a warrant. Like if you're going to pass around in the facility, then you have to have a search warrant that clearly states where you're going to search for, what you're going to seize, and things like that. But I'm saying, I'm not defending B Mountain yet. I'm saying that as professionals, this is one of the things. Even with the rape case now, the reason why people are trying to do it, the thing I'm saying about the rape case is the rape case situation now is you don't want to do your job, because if you want to do the job, you have enough to arrest this person. Then you can build a case against this person. You can build a case outside of some of the things you say. You can follow up. You can follow up some of the things the people telling you, some of the stories they're telling you, some of the alibi they giving you. You can follow up and catch the person in a lie. You can do these things. You cannot just accept people lie. But people don't want to do the work. What I'm saying is we have to do the work if we want to be effective in law enforcement. Because again, this is B Mountain. This is not some 2x4 company. This is not Zogo from downtown. This is B Mountain. You go there and take any illegal action, they can and will challenge it in court. So in as much as I understand the sentiment, I respect it, and I understand how important it is for the fresh job. But in the process of freshening job, we have a responsibility to be able to conduct ourselves in ways that will make our cases strong at the level of prosecution. Because if the case is not strong as far as prosecution is concerned, then we just unleash some sort of nonsense out there. To take for example,
Can I come in 1 minute?
one more point, please.
Yeah, we got 20 minutes to close. So
yeah. One more
Because
point.
I just wanted to add a point to what you were saying.
No,
I wasn't talking on the basis of sentiment. What I was talking was, from what we understood, was he had a tip off, and having a tip off, I expect that, of course, he
No,
should
let
have
me
had
clarify
a
this.
warrant
I said
that
why I'm
allows
on the
him
show now.
to search. So
Very-
it was on that basis that I said, if they were stopping him,
yeah.
No,
if
Sherry,
they were
let me
but Sherry,
stopping him,
clarify
they
let's
would
why I'm
have
on the
called
assume,
the
show.
let's assume,
yeah.
Sherry,
They
let's
would
I
assume
have.
wanted
that
to
what
move.
he's saying.
I think
Let me
we're clear on this. I wanted to move
let me
forward.
clarify. No, Mr. John, let me clarify this. So now, my presence at Bay Mountain or King George was not to conduct an investigation.
Then fine.
My
Then
presence
what
at
we
King
were
George
talking, it's
was to
over. Yeah.
speak with the agents that are on the scene, the commander for that region, and on the scene to discuss intel that we received pertaining to drugs moving in and out of that place. But we were stopped, but the security manager, he came and he met me, and he did escort me to see my men, because that's what I
fine.
was going there for. I was
And
only
then
telling you that briefly I was stopped and then later on it was settled, but it has nothing to do with me conducting an investigation and then I was stopped from doing my investigation. No.
and as I agree with just quickly, and what I'm saying also is I kind of we pretty much expressing the same thing just from
Yeah,
different perspective. What
I
I'm
know.
saying here is let's assume Hassan has been get some intelligence that Bean Mountain trucks are moving drugs freely, and then when he goes there, this behavior is exhibited on the property, something that is unusual. Now he has reasonable suspicion. Now he can be able
Exactly.
to go to his boss and build an investigation, build a case. Like, okay, let's try to see if we can see there is more here. And then you build a. That's how people do it. That's how you build
Yeah,
it, because you don't necessarily have to. Your initial observation or reason for going there was just to check on your men. But in the process of going check, that's how most crime we observe. I go check on somebody and I see somebody die. Then realize, oh, it's a homicide. So you go and check on your men, but you look at it, be like, something ain't right about this place. Like, I'm
Yeah.
hearing my people coming,
exactly.
and then you build your case from there. So I get that, Dr. Sherry. From my own time, I'm not saying you operate on sentiment, Dr. Sherry. I'm just saying that given the experience in life, bro, we just want to be able to. It's very important that we go step by step to be able to make sure that everything is done in ways that will enhance the prosecution case.
All right.
I do agree with you.
I
So,
have
like,
three
With
questions
what?
for
respect to
you,
informing,
l-
you
I have,
asked a question why we didn't tell the seek an audience with the president.
yeah,
Look,
yeah,
there's a chain of command.
Hassan, that's the political part. We're about to close. I wanted to
Okay.
cover this one very quickly.
Mhm.
Number one, because we're talking about the narco state, I wanted Sheriff to tell us about the diplomatic and the effect if Labrador is declared as such. But I want us to conclude with these three questions. If Labrador were to follow Colombia's trajectory, what would be the cost in lives, in governance, and in sovereignty? Two, what is one urgent action in Labrador? What is one urgent action Labrador must take to avoid becoming a narco state? And three,
Okay,
what
so
message will you send to Labrador's youth about their role in resisting this crisis? So I have three
okay,
questions. That's what we should use to wrap up.
okay. So, the first question you said,
If we were to follow
if
Colombia's trajectory, what would be the cost to sovereignty,
eh,
to
so right
lives,
now,
to governance?
from yeah, so when you look at the population of Liberia from the arrest agenda, the statistics show that 77 to 78% of the Liberian population are below the age of 35. So that's a very much youthful population, and that will be lost to drugs, and that in itself, population decline is a recipe for chaos in a country, because how are we going to sustain our welfare system, social welfare, how people retire, how are we going to continue to pay, how are we going to fund our taxes, how are we going to get taxes to pay people to do other things, developmental things. So the increase in drugs in the country uh, would have damaged Liberia so badly. Secondly, your diplomatic relationship with other countries. They will not honor your diplomatic passport. They will suspect everybody that carrying a Liberian passport to be uh, uh, having links with drugs. At the same time, they will question every wealth created in Liberia, wherein people would not want to do business with Liberia and would not want to come and invest in Liberia because Liberia will be classed as a dangerous country. So that is that. Those are some of the dangers of it. And then we they think of a nation state will start to lose it, the value of being a country of our own, a free country will start to lose it. And then I think that's basically some of the things, and our international status will be lost.
Hmm.
Yeah.
What, Hassan, what is one urgent action Liberia must take to avoid becoming a narco state?
We should revamp the DEA. We should put people with character, people with experience, and people with principle in an integrity institution. We should fight the job from the root and go upward. That means cleaning the system and then also working towards restoring confidence in that region. We already know the problem. We know
But
that.
Hassan, before you continue, if we only work on the DEA, let's say if cases go to court and they are not prosecuted properly, we lose it. If the president or the government, the executive, they don't give the proper budgetary allocation, the support, or if they are acquiescent when it comes to drug trafficking, traffickers infiltrating these institutions, the work of the DEA will be hampered.
So you ask a question: how can we solve the problem? First of
Okay.
all, Liberia becoming a narco state is an embarrassment to the country. It will affect our MCC. It will affect international aid. It will affect foreign direct investment. It will affect a lot of things. And with a population with 60% below the age of 25, it might affect that population too. Now, how can we solve this problem? There's so many ways we can solve the problem. I mentioned the DEA because they are the enforcement arm for fighting drug crime. We need to revamp the DEA. Start with a minimum salary of $300. We need to recruit some-minded people into the DEA, not rejects from the community that they just take to give them jobs somewhere. We need people at least with the minimum standard to be able to hire them into the DEA for them to be able to do. We need to hold officers accountable, not only hold them accountable by not only firing them, they should also be prosecuted if they violate the
Code of
ethics. Yeah, they need to be prosecuted. Then we need the political will. The political will comes from both the House and the executive. We need to be able to put money into the DEA. If we genuinely want to fight the drug war, we need to be able to put money into DEA. The DEA agents should be paid. They should be well trained. They should be provided with a basic logistic for them to be able to do their job. What do we need right now? I strongly suggest K9 unit. The reason I'm stressing and emphasizing on K9 because K9 has proven to be effective, very effective. You don't gotta be going to open bag and going to be doing things. You can manipulate your mind. You can manipulate the dog mind. We know that RIA is a hub. Most of the hard substance, the heroin and cocaine comes to RIA from Thailand, in Latin America, South America. They enter Liberia for transshipment to Europe and America. We know that. We know that it's coming on the boat. The Chinese are bringing it on a boat. Nobody's checking the boat. We need to strengthen our waterway. We know that they are coming through the local toll border, the water border, the river sails from Ghana. We know that they are coming from Ghana. We know. Look, I can tell you this. I will not say. I will say something without saying it because some of them have security implications, classified information on the board. Our international partners were able to give us enough intelligence that we can work with right now if we want to put a stop to this. Every major ghetto in Liberia, we know it. The kush that is killing people, we know who are bringing kush, especially in Monrovia, are bringing it. Those people, they need to be off the street, and some of them we need to use deadly force when necessary if it is there to take them off the street. What America is doing. We know some of them. The single bell, we know who bringing the kush. The kush that are killing people, we know. All of them, they still walking on the street. All of them. Golo is still on the street. Gucci is still on the street. Pastori is still on the street. The people know them. Every time they go, they give them slap and they put them off. If we want to solve the problem of the drugs that are killing our people, we need to deal with it, and we need to deal with it decisively. We need to be intentional about what we want to do about this. Not playing lip service to it, not doing it because we want we want to gather popular sentiment. We need to do it. And then the most important thing, we need to tap into our bright minds to do this. We got Alfred Johnson. We have Hans Johnson. We have Leut. We have Todd Nagwe. We have Bestman Lamina. You have so many smart Liberians here that don't have ties to drug cartel. I can bet my neck on a child, but they don't have ties to drug cartel. They don't have ties to any of those things. Look. We need to tap into those people and bring them there and head that area. The director for operation, those two positions, they need to be headed by somebody with the character, somebody with the experience that will go down there and will observe how I was able to get most of the things. I documented everything, and I can some of the things I can say here now because of this the sensitive nature of it. Yeah, I can tell you that. There are information, there are people with character and the experience, Liberians, and the president has been speaking about us going back to Liberia, but the people don't want us there. The reason they don't want us there, they don't want people with character and integrity to be in those positions because they will disrupt the operation. And they're not going to have her there So we're going to always have grossly incompetent people. They put them there. They pay the corrupt media to come around and be here, all Hail Mary, and they be talking nonsense with confidence. And the entire country with smart people, they just sit down and they're shaking their head. They don't want to say things because they don't want to ruffle feather. They don't want to say things because they don't want to be labeled as you know too much, you acting too much. That's why they're doing things. So they remain mute and they watch all of these things go on. To fight drug is easy because the people in Liberia, they are very reckless. Anybody can be able to tell who are the drug dealers. We got documents by Zooms of all the major ghettos in our country and everything. It's been well documented. Why are they not going for them? God, Lord know what. We need to clean our system. 95%, I will repeat it on the country, 95% of DEA agents. You have a law enforcement institution in charge of fighting drug crime. 95% of them are dirty. Dirty to the core. They got close down to drug dealer. And you think you're ready to fight drug? Who were you saying there? You were saying a man like Alfred Johnson. Because when Alfred go down there, Alfred had worked here as a professional for so long, he's not going to even take nonsense. You go on the street and you get a subject in handcuff and you see somebody beating it, I know exactly what Alfred would do. You will put you on stand down and you will take immediate action. You go to execute a search and seizure warrant and somebody steal a subject's cell phone or take somebody's money. I know what he would do because he's a professional and integrity matters. He's not going to say, oh, that person has John Bank causing, so job in the so we shouldn't be too harsh on him. He's going to punish him and he's going to ensure. That's how you clean all the system. You're going to hire new people. New people going to come into the system, and we don't necessarily need to send people out of the country to train. I can tell you this: with firearm, Liberia got one of the best firearm instructors. I can tell you that today. The firearm instructor at the Liberia National Police, they are one of the best. They follow all the safety protocol. I've been there. I've trained with them. Everything that we do here for our firearm training, they do it, and they do it in 5 years or something like that. They do it perfectly. They don't joke with it. These guys, they are professional. They are professional at the LNP, at the NSA, and other security agency. But guess what? There is no incentive for doing the right thing in Liberia. We need to reward honest people. We need to encourage people that have the character, the integrity, that are doing the right thing in Liberia. You're not going to go far. You're not going to go far with integrity. You're not going to go far by doing the right thing on the job. You're not going to get assignment. They're going to park you in Connerville and you're going to stay there for the remainder of your career. You're not going to go nowhere. You're going to get frustrated. And other people that are not playing by the rules, that are not doing the right thing, they are going to be the one elevated. That's the kind of country we have. How do we change it? All of us have to go back. All of us have to try. We have to speak up. We have to say something. Even when it means your daily bread, you have to say it. And once we are in large number and doing it, trust me, things will change in Liberia and we'll win the war. We'll minimize it.
Thank you. I mean, I'm one example, like even the media landscape. Those of us in this business, right? If you are talking things like what we are talking, it's boring to a lot of people. But if there's G's and fries, everybody wants to listen. Alfred, everything that we talk about tonight hinges on law enforcement. That's what I'm hearing. Let me hear from you how we solve this problem and what message do you send to Liberia's youth in resisting this or being this crisis, entering into a narco state.
One of the ways to solve this problem is it has to be comprehensive. It has to be comprehensive. That includes every facet of the Liberian government, or every agency that is responsible to make this successful should have the requisite, the right people in place. That includes the DEA. Start from the DEA. First thing when it comes to the DEA is not a place where it's meant for partisan hack. It's not a place where you just jump to a few of people. Oh, I want job, then they put you the DEA. I want job, then they put you no. That's not what that is meant for. That is a heart and soul of the nation in terms of drug predator. You have to put qualified people there. That place, it seems like when you look at the people there, you look at it and say, damn, how did the person end up with DEA? You don't want to be critical, but you don't want to be disrespectful. But there are certain people be like, how did they end up at DEA? But anyway, That's the first thing. The agency themselves that attacks to the responsibility of spreading drugs has to be fully funded. They have to be given the necessary resources. I talked about Kear. They have to look at what happened with the search warrant that was issued for, I think, for Jovia place or some other place. DA was involved, and they said there was some mistake with the crew when they went to the court in West Point or something
West
like
Point.
that. That whole thing,
Yeah, it's West Point. I was just correcting you.
when yeah, when it went to the wrong court, that whole situation, if you had the right leadership in place, if you have some people understanding that responsibility, people understanding what they need to do for certain things, you won't have people circumventing the system to go to a court to do it when they know they couldn't do it. You won't have that. So you have to start with the DA. Then you have to start with the court system. You have to set up an entire set of courts. Just like you have child support code, you have rape code, you have to have a drug code, specifically dealing with drug crimes. And that drug code has to deal with not drug in terms of the criminal aspect, but in terms of the rehabilitative aspect as well. To be able to help rehabilitate certain people. That code should not necessarily be about only putting people in jail. Yeah, you can put people in jail, but the end users have to be treated in that code as more of victims than as criminals. The end users have to be treated in that code in a different way. You have to set up a drug code system that will specifically deal with drug issues. When it comes to policing, you have to ensure that LMP has the ability to detect people carrying drugs. I can guarantee you, look at the situation with what's his name, the guy, George Calando. They said his trucks were allegedly carrying drugs. His vehicle was being used to transport drugs. That situation is not unusual in Liberia. There are so many cases of that. Whether the individual who controls that company is involved or not, that's an entirely different thing. But these companies that have recognition and leverage in Liberia are being used by these drug cartels to be able to fund the drugs. It may not be at the with the agreed acceptance of the owner of the company, but once they know it's a Calando truck, or maybe Dennis has a big company, if they know it's Dennis truck, they can be able to use that, and police know the truck, they will not stop it. So you have to ensure law enforcement has the ability to detect these drugs and be able to stop it. You have to tighten the border. How can you not have people at Freeport, DEA agents at Freeport? They're supposed to be there. And that's a major, they call it a gateway to the nation's economy. To not have DEA agent parading that port is concerning. So it's a comprehensive effort. And it's not one agency that is going to be responsible for making it to work. It will take a combination of everything, but meeting, as I said in Liberia, the political will. You need the political will to tell people, say, you're going to jail and you're going to jail. If you cannot do that, forget it. Everything else you're doing at Blagaje. Everything else you're doing at Blagaje. If you don't have the political will to enforce these laws, to be able to tell people that we're going to take you to jail and we don't care. Anything else you do, blah. Thank you.
Thank you. And all of you talk about political will. I mean, sometimes maybe there's the big boogeyman in the room, right? What is this political will? Can we cut to the chase and say, I don't, because they say everything starts and ends with the president of the Republic of Liberia.
The political will. The political will is the ability to tell the president, Mr. President, coming on my scene at the fire thing and telling me that already making conclusion before we came investigate the fire at the Capitol building is wrong.
Why this president got to be told? Why the president can't know? You know, it's
no,
like
but I'm saying
for the president.
We all operate, or sometimes we all make mistakes. We all make mistakes. The president is a human being. He's not infallible. So the president comes on your scene and does something, you can call him aside later and talk to him, Mr. President. That was not fair. That was not appropriate. But let's learn from this. But some people will not do it. That's part of political will. Right. Political will is telling somebody.
What I learned from talking with a lot of people is in Liberia, the people that are, this, I don't want to say subject, but the people that work with you when you are the boss, they all take their cues from you.
Exactly.
If you love gossip, the people around you will be gossipers.
But if then it's
go by the book. So people want to people want to serve the president. So if the president is attracting people that will be obedient pets, because that's the kind of cues the president gives. Nobody wants to fall out of line.
But
So
that's the point we're
is it
making.
not time for us to really put this
Mr.
blame
John,
on the president?
now this president.
But that's
I've
the point we're
interacted with the
making.
president.
That's the point we're making, Dennis. You have to have
Oh,
the political will to tell the president this is wrong.
but does the president have the political will?
Okay, so if I can
He's
come
the
in to
president.
contribute, if I can come in to talk
If the
about
president
the
is
context
giving
of
the right information, trust me, he's gonna act on it. But let me tell you the problem here
But if the
before.
president get radio, then we're not getting
can I
information.
just make this point on political will? Political will that I mentioned, based on policy background, is the willingness of those in authority to support the right thing to be done. So that is, for example, if the DEA wants to do a certain thing, but like they are short on vehicles, they are short on this, and then the government makes DEA, the fight against drugs, a priority. That is a political will. The president or those in leadership say this particular thing we want it done. So wherever you are having bureaucratic hurdles, let me know. I will step in to clear it because we want this particular thing to be achieved. So that is what, for me, from a policy background, that is what I we call a political will, meaning the leadership, not only the president, but those in authority
Mhm.
are in line to see that a particular action is done so that the end product will contribute to the policy agenda that was made. So that's how I see political will,
Okay,
not the
Hassan.
other way. Other people,
Huh?
everybody got different ways they
Mhm.
interpret it.
But this political will, does the president of the country have it?
To understand, let me put it this way:
Mm.
the situation in Liberia is such that the president relies on a team around him to give to him the right information for him to make informed decision on what to do. If the president do not give the right information, he will assume that everything is going okay until it hits the fan, and then
Mhm.
before he start to
And why would
realize
the
that it's not
president
good.
get or not get the right information?
Because we are discussing Liberia here.
Okay.
In Liberia, every presidency
Dennis said,
is
"Oh,
not unique. It's not unique to President Boyka. Even former President, we are. He has some good thing, and he has some people there that the information that they want to reach to him, the information that will reach to him. If they
Because that's
don't
the
want
kind
for
of
certain
people he
information to reach,
attracted. That the
eh?
people he employed. That the people he attracted. If you put square pegs in round holes, what do you expect?
Unfortunately, when we talk about political will, we're not only talking about the presidency, we are talking about the legislature, we are talking about the court system, we are talking about all of these areas, they
And they all
form
take
part
their cues
of
from the
the
president.
political will. We can arrest, we can charge, and we can send people to court. And if the court system has been compromised, definitely that case we might lose the case.
All right. Gentlemen, we'll conclude and we'll go around the room for your closing. You know, we talk a lot. I don't want to keep you over 2 hours. So let's go around the room for your closing statement. You can take it from any angle, by the end. Tell me something that I'll go home and sleep tonight because I'm so scared of the narco state. Let me start with
Okay.
Alfred. Oh, okay. Mohammed, you want to start? Go ahead.
All right. So from all what I've said, and I think Fadiga and Alfred came to back it up, that there was need. I said we need to have a specialized court that deals with drugs. I also mentioned that we needed to train a new set of people. The reason I say outside of Liberia, it gives the new recruits, the new team that coming in, new culture that injects into them the energy, the passion to do the job. Because if 95% from your analysis that they were polluted and they are trained by the same people, then it's a continuation of what existed. Then there's no need. So that's the reason why I said they should be trained outside of Liberia, which gave them new innovation. And then, like I said, 50% of the DEA should look at enforcement, and then the other one has to do with social work, and the other sociologists and the other people to be involved in. And then when it comes to the legal arm of the law, we all know that more people need to be trained into the judiciary to handle all of this, and there should be a specific policy focus. What do we want to achieve between this time to this time? Are we cracking down on initially trying to identify, crack down on them, then we move to the next phase of trying to rehabilitate the end users? Then, in closing, from my side, I want to make this statement. Starting from tonight, policy suggestions and so on that I'll be making in the capacity as Dr. Mohammed Sharif and not in the name of ANC. And I also want to say that I know people might want to ask me about how was the convention. I hope nobody asks me, but the ANC convention has a very big question mark.
Ooh.
Very big question mark. And that question mark and question can only be answered by one person, Mr. Alexander Benedict Cummings. We have to answer that question. And we are still in consultation within the ANC as to how that question can be answered. So on the aspect of the ANC, I don't want to make anything.
He want us to start new show because when I get on the ANC.
No, we are not starting new show, but I needed to make this clear. Yeah.
You say, I'm sorry, that you said the ANC convention question mark?
I'm writing it right now. I'm writing it right now.
That's why I said a big question mark, and only one person can answer that question. Mr. Alexander Benedict Cummings will answer that question. And we are in consultation internally and outside and waiting for the question to be answered before I talk about the ANC convention in the future or being the voice of ANC on the media.
Tomorrow night at 7, we're going to have Friday night debate. I want you to come so we can talk about that question mark.
No, I can't talk about it until
it's just tell what the question is, and then we can take the question.
No. I can't go into that. I can't go into that because for now it's an internal issue. It will be answered by him, and then once I have that definitive answer, because I'm not talking as Sheriff now, I'm saying we, everyone in ANC understand what that statement means. Once we have that answer, then I can conveniently talk about ANC and whatnot connections.
Well, we'll be asking a hard question. We lend our voice to this concern, to ask ABC to explain the question mark.
Yes.
Or maybe there's no question mark. Maybe he don't see the question mark, so we can take a word for it.
Man, don't bring politics in the thing. We ask a hard question. I hope Mona Fahai and Ran Tiola Gibson, I'll be reaching in the inbox to trouble there a little bit. But anyway, let me close. I got some clinical work.
Let's get your closing.
So, my man, it's always a pleasure coming on your show to discuss about the drug situation. I'm very passionate about the drug situation. I went to Liberia. I saw it firsthand, and I understand how devastating the drug crisis is in Liberia. Every sector there's drugs. On the gold mine, they are trading drugs for gold. In the fishery, the fountain town, they are trading fish for gold. In our communities, by schools, they are selling it in eggnog. The marijuana, they are putting it in kanya, in soup. In candy, milk candy, they are selling drugs. There are all kinds of drugs on the market. The high code one, they bring it in Liberia as a transit to ship to Europe and America. Drug has become a means of economic sustenance for a lot of Liberians. A lot of people will be in some of the high rise in Liberia, most likely is proceeds from drugs. Some of them. You have the proliferation of casinos right now in Liberia. We all know the prostitution. When you see casino, people use it as a serious money laundering tool. Casino, they use it to be able to move drugs, to reintroduce the money into the market, clean the money. I see the overdose of a lot of people just from last month to now. More than 15 people have died in Monserrato from drug overdose, and that's just the number we have seen from Facebook posts. There could be even more.
But Hassan, there was a lot of noise when around the election time, where these cool people that were dying, hitting their head against the pole. We don't see much of that anymore. Was that political? Because people are still
happening now. It's happening now.
But we don't see the outcry against that is not loud enough.
It is. Have you been paying attention on the social media? In fact, on August 7, the situation had gotten so bad that August 7, the entire Monserrato basin, the people came out. And this is not a CDC team or a Unity Party.
They say the people that were doing know to drug. They say some of them were drug dealers. People recognize them in the street.
I recognize some of them, and I made a post that some of them, because the reason here is the people are playing fun out of the thing because our policy makers are not taking the drug thing serious. They're not. So the people taking it for a joke. Look, if you arrest people and successfully prosecute them, confiscate their assets, lock permanent people out that are associated with drugs, trust me, we'll get result. If we can put a countermeasure at both waterside to arrest people and we go into Sierra Leone and speak with our Sierra Leonean counterpart about the drug thing and work together to be able to solve that thing and arrest a lot of people, trust me. We know, the people know who the drug dealers are. But guess what? I want to say something, but I will not say it. The president, the only thing I will say, and I've said it privately with the president, and I will say it again openly. We won an election on drugs. The Liberian people did not say they want drugs. Even though the country is hard, the Liberian people said one thing and they were very clear about it. And on August 7, they came on the street again to remind our president that our kids are dying and you need to do everything to fight drugs. The president provided logistics. I saw the 15 vehicles. But let me tell you, 15 vehicles don't take drugs on the street. We have to be intentional. And I'm not saying it because I'm the only person with a character. I'm saying it because I want to return to Liberia. And I know most of you want to return to Liberia. And I want an environment that is free of drug, or the drug pandemic is drastically reduced. That's the kind of environment I want. Having seen the level and the way in which drugs is in Liberia, in the next 5 to 10 years, if we don't do anything, it will be irreversible, and we'll have a serious crisis that it will take a miracle for us to resolve. So we need to fight it now. We need to be, again, intentional. We need to attack it from the root. We need to attack it from all over. We need everybody on board, from the court system, the criminal justice, the law enforcement aspect, and also the president's office as well, to fight the drug. I strongly recommend it to the president that he create, through either the act of legislation or executive order, the office of the National Drug Czar. The office of the National Drug Czar is very important. In fact, when I met with the president, I gave him a copy of of a document of the act that creating the office of the National Drug Czar. The reason having a drug czar is important is because the drug czar becomes the liaison between the president and the enforcement agency. That means the NSC, the LDEA, and the Liberian National Police.
Hassan, I disagree. We created all these jobs. Let the LDEA boss be the drug czar. But thank you.
You cannot be the enforcement agency and then you But let me tell you the critical thing about the drug czar.
No.
In America, we have the drug czar. The drug czar will help to strengthen the enforcement arm of the drug enforcement agency. If they're not doing it, he serves as the liaison between the president and those enforcement agencies. So if they're not doing something in terms of the drug policy or for rehabilitation, in terms of enforcement, the drug czar will also be linking with our international partners. For example, in Nigeria, they have a program called the MAD program. The drug czar could be able to help to negotiate for that program in Liberia, the medical assisted treatment program for drug addicts. I spoke with the French ambassador during my tenure, and the French government do not have money for the Liberian government, but they do have money allocated for youth empowerment in Liberia. The drug czar as a liaison can be able to steer the president in the right direction for us to look for that money. The money, our international partner get money. We don't have to depend on government money. If you know where to look, there are money to help in the DEA. The drug czar will inform the president, and the president will be able to take the necessary action. But right now, the people, they're not giving the president the right information.
Thank you. Thank you. Right now, I think the chief of staff, the legislator, I think they mean 1.9 million so you can buy cars. So, but Alfred, let me get your closing. And if you are watching, please don't forget, always we are open to donation, so we can, this kind of authentic and unbiased, balanced thing that we do, we wanted to reach far. So you can always help with your donation through Cash App, Zelle, or SendWave. We will be able to take it to carry this. The bar press is out there. We need something like Focus on Liberia to break through. And in order to do that, we need to be on the radio. We need to be everywhere in Liberia to take the message for. Other than that, the G's and Fried media, the tabloid, and the propaganda is going to send us just like the drug is overtaking the country. Alfred, you're closing.
Well, I just want to say thanks again. It's always a pleasure being on your show and having conversations. To give you something to sleep tonight, the war is not coming to an end tomorrow, so you can sleep good tonight.
I know.
The war is not coming to an end tomorrow, so get some rest. The problems in Liberia are enormous, but like I think it was George Pamela who said no problem Liberia is facing that. The problems we are facing in Liberia has been faced and solved somewhere else. So all we got to do is take the solution and contextualize it to Liberia and solve the problem. We have to have the will. If we don't want to have the will, we can't do anything in our country. Seriously, the country is such a place that it's difficult to imagine that some of the people who run in the country have lived in this country, have lived in America, have experienced Western life. People usually go out when they see things, they bring it home. But in Liberia, some of the people bring it home for their own benefit. So we got to be honest with ourselves. The process is going to be very difficult. It requires a lot, but it can be done if we have the desire to do it. Thank you.
Thank you. On that note, I want to say thank you so much.
Thank you, Dennis.
Tomorrow, join us for Friday night debate. We'll answer the ANC question mark that Sherry talked about.
But man, I mean, Kear need a Mohammed Sherry, right?
Yeah, I will give it to you.
We all love you, man.